sighs heavily. It was unbelievable. It was horrific. And he had taken her away from the whole family. He had convinced her that we were all bad people and he was the one to save her, and that she needed saving. He coerced her into believing that she should cut all ties with the whole family. She walks through the door of her 14th floor flat, shopping bags in hand, completely unaware that she has just hours left to live. The security camera captures her final steps, a young woman returning home on an ordinary Friday evening in March. But inside that Lincoln Tower block, something terrible is waiting. This is the story of Holly Bramley, a 26-year-old woman whose life was stolen in the most brutal way imaginable. And the person responsible, the man who promised to love and protect her, her husband. In a country where domestic violence claims the lives of one woman every 3 days, Holly's case stands out not just for its violence, but for the calculated cruelty that followed. Because what Nicholas Metson did after killing his wife reveals a darkness that goes beyond a moment of rage. It shows planning, concealment. But before we understand the monster, we need to understand the man. And before we see how it ended, we need to see how it began. Because the warning signs were there all along, written in previous relationships, documented in court records, visible to anyone who knew where to look. The question that haunts everyone who learns this story is simple and terrible. Could this have been stopped? Nicholas Metson was 28 years old when he murdered his wife, but his history of violence against women stretched back more than a decade. Born and raised in Lincolnshire, he appeared to many as an ordinary young man navigating the challenges of adulthood. He attended Boston College, where he would eventually meet Holly in the year 2016. On the surface, there was nothing that screamed danger. No dramatic red flags that would make strangers cross the street. But beneath that unremarkable exterior lived a pattern of behavior that had already been documented by the criminal justice system 3 separate times. Court records show that Metson had previous convictions for offenses against former partners in the year 2013, the year 2016, and the year 2017. These weren't minor disputes or misunderstandings. These were criminal matters serious enough to result in convictions, creating a paper trail that painted a clear picture of a man who struggled with control, anger, and violence in intimate relationships. Yet somehow, despite this documented history, he was free to enter another relationship, free to marry, free to isolate another woman behind closed doors where no one could see what was really. Those who knew Metson described him as someone who could be charming when he wanted to be, but who had a darker side that emerged in private. He was diagnosed with autism, a detail that would later be raised during his trial, though the judge would make clear that this in no way explained or excused the calculated brutality of what he did to Holly. Autism affects how people process social information and sensory input, but it does not make someone violent. It does not make someone a killer. But who was the woman he killed? What was her life like before it was stolen? Holly Bramley was 26 years old when her life was taken from her. A young woman just beginning to understand who she was and what she wanted from life. Born and raised in Lincolnshire, she was one of triplets, which meant she grew up with built-in best friends. Siblings who shared not just a birthday, but an entire childhood of memories and moments. Her mother, Annette, would later describe her as beautiful, kind, and loving, words that sound simple, but carried the weight of a lifetime of knowing someone, of watching them grow, of loving them unconditionally. Those who knew Holly spoke of her vibrant spirit, a quality that seemed to light up rooms and draw people toward her. She had the kind of warmth that made others feel seen and valued. The kind of genuine kindness that's increasingly rare in a world that often rewards the opposite. Friends remembered her laugh, her sense of humor, her ability to find joy in small things. She wasn't someone who demanded attention or needed to be the center of every conversation. She was simply present fully and authentically in a way that made the people around her feel more alive. Holly attended Boston College, where she met Nicholas Metson in the year 2016. She was young then, still figuring out who she was and what she wanted. Like many people in their late teens and early 20s, she was navigating the complicated terrain of identity, relationships, and independence. Meeting Metson must have felt exciting at first, the way new relationships often do. There would have been the rush of connection, the thrill of being chosen, the hope that this person might be someone special. She couldn't have known then what he would become. She couldn't have seen the danger hidden beneath the surface. By all accounts, Holly was someone who believed in love, who wanted to build a life with someone, who entered her marriage with genuine hope and commitment. When she and Metson married in the year 2021, she would have been 24 years old. Standing at the altar, making promises she fully intended to keep, for better or worse, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. She meant those words. She believed in them. And Nicholas Metson would use that belief, that commitment, that love as a weapon against her, but sentenced separately. He pleaded guilty to obstructing a coroner in the execution of their duty, admitting that he had helped dump the bags in the river. He also pleaded guilty to unrelated charges, including attempted sexual communication with a child and drug offenses. For all of these crimes combined, Hancock was sentenced to 3 years and 3 months in prison. Judge Hurst noted that while Hancock claimed he didn't know the bags contained human remains, he had been motivated by money and had failed to ask questions he should have asked. His actions had prevented Holly's family from having a proper burial and had added to their trauma by forcing them to learn that their daughter's body had been scattered in a river. So, where is Nicholas Metson now? He is serving his sentence in a UK prison, likely in a facility that houses long-term and high-risk offenders. The specific prison is not publicly disclosed for security reasons, but prisoners serving life sentences for murder are typically held in Category A or Category B prisons, which are designed for inmates who pose a significant risk to the public or to the security of the prison itself. The first and most important lesson is this: coercive control kills. It's not just psychological abuse or emotional manipulation. It's a pattern of behavior that traps victims, strips away their autonomy, and creates conditions where violence can escalate unchecked. The UK was one of the first countries in the world to criminalize coercive control in 2015, recognizing it as a serious form of domestic abuse. But awareness of what coercive control looks like and how to respond to it remains limited. This raises a critical question. How can we better support people who are trapped in coercively controlling relationships? Part of the answer lies in education and awareness. People need to understand what coercive control looks like so they can recognize it in their own relationships, or in the relationships of people they care about. Schools, workplaces, and community organizations all have a role to play in teaching people about healthy relationships and the warning signs of abuse. What would you have done if you were Holly's friend or neighbor? If you had sensed something was wrong but didn't have proof, would you have reached out? Would you have called someone? Would you have trusted your instincts? These aren't easy questions and there are no perfect answers, but they're questions worth asking because the next Holly Bramley might be someone you know. And your willingness to act, to speak up, to offer support might be the difference between life and death. If Holly's story has affected you or if you recognize any of the warning signs we've discussed in your own life or in the life of someone you care about, please know that help is available. In the UK, the National Domestic Abuse Helpline is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 0882000247. This is a free confidential service staffed by trained professionals who can provide support, information, and referrals to local services. You can also visit their website for resources and information about creating a safety plan if you're thinking about leaving an abusive relationship. For men experiencing domestic abuse, the Men's Advice Line is available at 0880103327. Domestic abuse affects people of all genders and everyone deserves support and safety. If you're worried about someone else, you can also call these helplines for advice on how to help. Sometimes just knowing that someone cares and is willing to listen can make a huge difference to someone who feels trapped and alone. We also want to take a moment to remember Holly Bramley. She was 26 years old when her life was stolen from her. She was described by those who loved her as beautiful, kind, and loving with a vibrant spirit that lit up the lives of everyone around her. She deserved so much more than what happened to her. She deserved to grow old, to pursue her dreams, to find real love, to experience all the joys and sorrows and ordinary moments that make up a human life. And while we can't bring her back, we can honor her memory by working to prevent other women from suffering the same fate. To Holly's family and friends, we extend our deepest condolences. We know that no awareness campaign, no amount of public attention can ease your pain or bring Holly back. But we hope that by telling her story with care and respect, we can help ensure that she's remembered not just as a victim, but as a whole person who was loved and who mattered. And to everyone out there, here's the real takeaway from this heartbreaking case. It screams at us to wake up, spot those sneaky red flags early, and step in before tragedy strikes. Because every ignored whisper of control can snowball into a storm of destruction, but together, with sharp eyes and brave hearts, we flip the script, save lives, and build a world where love heals instead of harms, turning pain into power one aware soul at a time.